The story begins with a woman named Jisung arriving at a courier to pick up a delivery. After this, she sits outside and starts to unwrap the parcel. While she's doing so, she overhears a man bragging to his friends that although he's getting married soon, his affairs with other women are still going on. He then invites his friends to join him for a night out with girls. Hearing this, Jisung reflects that when people order online, they hope the product will be good. Similarly, when starting a relationship, everyone expects it to turn out well. Following this, Jisung opens the parcel, only to discover that the product inside is not what she ordered. This frustrates her, and she ends up throwing it in the garbage. On the way home, she posts on social media about the man who bragged about having several affairs. She describes him in detail, and advises his fiancé to reconsider marrying such a man. Since the guy is rich and well-known, the post about him quickly goes viral and eventually reaches his fiancé, who breaks up with him. In the following scene, we see Jisung in her office where it's revealed that she works as a programmer for a major electronics company. She is currently working on an AI refrigerator that can suggest food based on a person's age and nature. Jisung asks the fridge what she should eat, but there seems to be an error, and it suggests she merely sip cold water for lunch. Hearing this, everyone begins to laugh, and our girl feels a bit embarrassed. After this, the director suggests that the fridge should know how much people earn so that it can budget for food accordingly. Jisung points out that the fridge would need more data on the consumer, which they don't have due to privacy reasons. The director suggests she seek help from her colleagues and asks how much time she needs. But before she can respond, he tells her to finish it before her honeymoon, and she reluctantly agrees. That evening, we see Jisung working late to fix the fridge's programming. Moments later, she receives a text from her fiancé Han, who is a dentist. The two then discuss their wedding preparations for a while before she gets back to work. In the following scene, we see a firefighter named Youngkoo riding his bicycle while listening to music. Soon after, he stops when he notices there's been a car accident. Being the man that he is, he quickly springs into action and pulls an injured woman from the vehicle. After that, he calls an ambulance and sends her to the hospital. Elsewhere, Jisung is still at her office feeling frustrated that the fridge isn't functioning properly. Out of anger, she kicks it, but this only causes the machine to catch fire. In a state of panic, she quickly calls the fire department to report the incident. Coincidentally, Youngkoo is assigned to the task, and he rushes to the location with his coworker. Meanwhile, as Jisung tries to put out the fire with an extinguisher, she accidentally sprays powder on her own face. Just when it seems that her heroine is in trouble, an employee named Hwang shows up and successfully extinguishes the fire. Jisung is terrified to see her because she rarely speaks to anyone, and no one knows what her role and position in the company is. Some even think that she's the CEO's girlfriend, so our girl becomes worried that this incident might affect her performance review. After Hwang leaves, Youngkoo arrives and is taken aback by Jisung's appearance. He teaches her how to use the fire extinguisher properly, but she accidentally sprays powder on his face as well. She then wipes it for him and apologizes. However, he assures her that he's okay. After he leaves, Jisung begins cleaning up and soon, her fiancé arrives to see her. He suggests she wash up, but she insists that her work isn't finished. Hwang then notices the fridge and asks about it. Our girl proudly explains that it recommends menus based on a person's details. This intrigues Hwang, but he gets really angry when he learns that she has not put his details in the fridge. He thinks she doesn't care. Jisung clarifies that work and personal life are different. Following the conversation, he bids her goodbye and leaves. Jisung then tidies up the office and returns it to its original state. After this, she asks the fridge to recommend a menu for the director. When it successfully complies, she becomes very happy and rushes to hug the appliance. She feels that she has finally solved the issue, but just then, the fridge takes the director's name, which confuses her. It also begins showing the director's pictures, bank details, and personal information to her. She finds out that her boss is currently staying at a hotel instead of attending a funeral, as he had said. Curious, Jisung asks about her coworkers, and the fridge reveals their real-time locations and what they're doing. The next morning, she approaches the director and asks why he was at the hotel last night instead of attending the funeral. When the latter panics, she realizes that the fridge's information is accurate. After this, Jisung uses the fridge to help investigate one of her friend's boyfriends. She realizes that the man is dating multiple women and is a con artist. So she tells her friend right away, and when they go to confront the man, everything the fridge said turns out to be true. That evening, Jisung stares at the fridge, wondering how it can access someone's data just by saying their name. She then casually takes Han's name, and sees his information and text messages. Shockingly, she finds out that he has shared her private pictures in a boys' chat group, where all of them make fun of her. He had placed cameras in her home, assuring her that only she would have access to the recordings. She assumed it was to protect her, but it turns out that it was to get her private photo. This angers Jisung, and she blames and curses the fridge for showing her that information. Later, she decides to take revenge on Han, and invites him to her place. She claims that there's a surprise for him, and sends him to take a bath. While he's there, she takes his phone, and confronts him about the group chat. She takes his naked pictures and threatens to spread them, if he continues to share her photos. In frustration, she also destroys his phone before storming out. Later, after calming down, Jisung goes to a restaurant, and enjoys a hot bowl of soup. When she tries to pay the bill, she finds out that the shop doesn't accept cards and she's short on cash. With no other option left, she asks for help from another customer, who turns out to be Young-koo. He happily covers her bill, and she transfers the money to him online. The next day, Han apologizes to Jisung, but she decides to end their relationship. To settle the matter, both of them bring their mothers for a meeting. When our girl reveals Han's actions to his mother, she apologizes at first, but when Jisung refuses to forgive him, she gets mad and starts questioning her character. Due to this, a brawl ensues between the two moms. That night, our heroine goes out with her friends to celebrate her newly single status. After drinking a lot, she ends up falling and passing out on the road. Soon after, Young-koo arrives and he wakes her up while advising her to go home. But Jisung gets angry when she notices the fridge nearby and scolds it for ruining her relationship. He tries to calm her down, and in the process, their phones fall and get swapped. After this, he escorts her to her apartment and leaves. The next morning, Jisung wakes up with a hangover and struggles to remember what happened the night before. She doesn't remember Jun-suk, but realizes that her cell phone has been swapped with somebody else's. Later on her way to work, she stumbles upon him carrying a cat. Since she's allergic to animals, she sneezes, causing the cat to flee in panic. Jisung profusely apologizes before scurrying off to the office. Later, the director again reminds her to finish her work before the honeymoon. However, she replies that she won't be going on a honeymoon, which shocks everyone. She then heads to the bathroom to vomit, as she is still hungover from last night. However, her coworkers assume she's pregnant, which explains why she's not going on a honeymoon. Later, Jisung calls her number and asks the other person to exchange her phone. However, when she arrives at the location, she is shocked to see Young-koo again. He reveals that her boyfriend was calling constantly, so he answered once. However, she clarifies that he is no longer her boyfriend. Since Jisung is running late for work, Young-koo offers to drop her off on his bicycle. However, upon arriving at work, she realizes that everyone is gossiping about her pregnancy. Frustrated, she explains that she broke up with Han. However, her coworkers assume that she must be pregnant by someone else, which is the reason for the breakup. Later, one of her coworkers even posts about her pregnancy on social media. Everyone gossips about how she betrayed her 7-year relationship and got pregnant with someone else's child just before the marriage. Jisung is deeply hurt by these rumors and decides to tell the truth. However, she soon realizes that the truth might cause further embarrassment, so she stays quiet. That night, Jisung decides to get rid of all the gifts from Han. While doing so, she senses some movement behind the bushes, which scares her. But when she checks the area, she finds Young-koo, who is looking for the lost cat. She again apologizes for scaring the cat, and they end up taking a walk together. Before parting, she asks for his number so that she can contact him in case she finds his cat. The following day, Jisung's company puts on a product, which is an automated cleaning machine. A guy named Jaegol begins the presentation and asks Jisung to command the machine. However, it's revealed that the fridge is connected to all electronic devices. When she tries to give commands to the cleaner, the fridge starts revealing Jaegol's private information. It turns out he runs a social media page where he gossips about their coworkers. Moreover, he was the one who circulated rumors about Jisung. The meeting soon becomes chaotic as Jaegol denies these accusations and angrily smashes the cleaning machine. The director is embarrassed in front of the investors. As for our girl, she realizes that the fridge only responds to her voice command. Later, while Jisung is walking home, it begins to rain, and she finds Young-koo in the street. He's trying to help a cat, which is entangled in a rope. Since he's drenched, she puts an umbrella over him, and they manage to free the animal. They then take it to the vet for a checkup. After ensuring that the cat is okay, the two go out and have dinner together. In the next scene, Jisung returns home and hears strange noises coming from her bathroom. To her surprise, she discovers that Han has been trying to break into her place through the bathroom window but got stuck. He apologizes repeatedly for taking private photos of her and sharing them with his friends, claiming it was a joke. However, this enrages our girl even more as now he's trying to break into her house. She decides to call the police, but he begs her not to do so and says he's already called for help. Coincidentally, the rescue team happens to be Jungkook and his coworker. After getting rescued, Han still tries to talk to her, but Jungkook warns him to not bother her again or he'll be jailed. After this, our hero talks to Jisung, who is embarrassed that he always meets her in such situations. However, he assures her that she shouldn't feel embarrassed because it's not her fault. Before leaving, he tells her that he will return the next day to fix her window. The next day, Jisung is surprised to see Amun giving a bunch of flowers to her mother. Later, she talks with her mom and finds out that they're dating. Jisung is against the relationship since the Mun is too young for her, and assumes he may be after her money. However, Mom insists he's a good man who cares for her. When Jisung gets to the office, she uses her fridge to get information about her mother's boyfriend. Surprisingly, she finds out that he's wealthy and a kind person. Just then, she receives a text message from Jungkook who is waiting outside her apartment. So, she rushes home, and he begins to fix her window. While he's working, she seems to be captivated by his appearance and takes his picture. However, our hero doesn't like this, so he asks her to delete the photo. It turns out that when he was younger, he used to be bullied by some bad guys who would take his photo and humiliate him. Seeing him so angry, Jisung apologizes and deletes the photo. Later on, she receives a call from her mother who says she has decided to break up with her boyfriend. However, Jisung says that he's a good man who loves her wholeheartedly. Mom is shocked and wonders how she knows this, to which our girl replies that she went to a fortune teller. This impresses the mother and she tells all her friends and relatives about the fortune teller. From that day onwards, Jisung begins receiving calls from a lot of women who want to know about the men they're dating, and she helps every one of them. In the next scene, Jisung is put in charge of coordinating with the fire department to work on a simulated training. There she runs into Jungkook, which makes her very happy. She and her team then work tirelessly and shoot the entire thing. However, after finishing their work, she realizes that her colleagues had accidentally deleted the video. Having no other option, she asks Jungkook to help to reshoot it, and he agrees. Meanwhile, the guard thinks everyone has left, so he locks the outside gate. Later, our cute couple finishes their work and tries to leave, only to find the door locked. Now that they're stuck inside, Jisung tries to call her friend for help, but her phone's battery dies. She asks for his phone, but he says he doesn't carry it at work. With very few options, they try to climb through the wall, but it's too high, and they both end up falling. They then sit down, and Jisung apologizes for taking his picture last night. However, he feels that he should be the one apologizing because he was upset with her for such a minor reason. After this, the two become closer, and they almost kiss. Unfortunately, their moment is interrupted when Jungkook's coworker arrives and opens the door. Meanwhile, at the office, the shy girl Hwang successfully unlocks and activates the fridge using Jisung's voice and fingerprints. It turns out she's a spy for the National Intelligence Agency. The organization had lost a chip named JSS, and over time, it was misused in political battles. Hwang is on a mission to locate the chipset that is inside the fridge, but she doesn't know exactly where it is. Since only Jisung can activate it, she suspects that she might be a spy for a terrorist organization. The following day, Jisung's company conducts a meeting with the fire department to formalize their collaborative relationship. There, our girl notices Jungkook laughing and being friendly with another woman, which makes her jealous. So she gets close to her coworker on purpose, which makes him jealous. Later, he takes her aside and asks whether she's upset with him. He then says that he wants to take her out on a date on Friday, which makes Jisung very happy. However, at that moment, Hwang arrives and notices them together. Later, he sends a text to Jisung and requests a meeting. When she arrives, he accuses her of cheating on him with a firefighter and making an irrelevant excuse to break up with him. He explains that he moved clinics to be closer to her and begs for another chance, but she becomes annoyed and orders him to stay away from her. After this, Jisung goes to her desk and turns on her computer, where she comes across an anonymous note talking about the secret of the fridge. She panics and looks around for any suspicious person, but finds no one. She also notices that the fridge is on, which shocks her because she remembers turning it off, and only she has the authority to turn it on. Confused by this, she decides to enhance the fridge's security. In the next scene, it's the day of the firefighter's photo shoot, and as Jungkook is busy getting ready for the shoot, Jisung arrives to support him. To keep his face hidden, he wears a helmet and poses for the pictures. After a while, he meets an old firefighter from his town. He introduces himself as Jae-min, and says that he changed his name after what happened in the past. The old firefighter recognizes him, and says that he was just a kid when they last met. He's happy to see Jungkook doing well in life, despite having experienced so much trauma in the past. A reporter hears this conversation and taunts that Jungkook is not worthy of being a firefighter. Meanwhile, Jisung overhears the reporter and gets upset, even though she doesn't fully understand the content. Later, the two go on a date, but she can't stop thinking about what the reporter said. She tries to search for his information in the fridge, but she doesn't find anything, which shocks her. She doesn't want to hurt or offend him, so she keeps it to herself and doesn't ask any questions. Later, we see the two on their way back home. It's very late, and suddenly their car breaks down in the middle of the road, so they get out of the car and walk, holding hands. When they reach the bus stop, Jisung hears strange noises, which freaks her out. She clings onto him tightly, and our hero also holds her with affection. At this moment, they finally share their first kiss. Following this, the two begin dating officially, and are very happy with each other. Jungkook, who wasn't fond of using his phone, now spends a lot of time on it talking with Jisung. One day, she takes him to meet her father, who lives alone. The old man is happy to see our girl dating again. However, things get a bit awkward when he starts drinking and bad-mouthing her mother's new boyfriend. In the following scene, Jisung uses the AI fridge to investigate one of her friend's boyfriends. To her surprise, she discovers that the guy is genuinely good, and she's relieved. Just then, Hwang arrives and informs her that the fridge is not intended for personal use or for investigating people. This shocks our girl, as she realizes that there are other people who know about the refrigerator's features. One day, while Jungkook and Jisung are hanging out with friends, Han appears in a drunken state and accuses her of cheating on him. We're just getting into the best part. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more content like this every week to reach 1,000 subscribers. He claims that Jungkook's attractive body is gaining popularity everywhere. It turns out, someone secretly took his picture and posted it online, making him unexpectedly famous. This makes our hero very uncomfortable, and he quickly walks away. Jisung tries to stop him, but he says he wants to be alone. Afterward, she notices one of her friends going out with a guy, so she heads to her office to check out information on him. She discovers that he's a good man, but is shocked when she sees Jungkook's picture with him. She finds out that our hero's real name is Jaemin, and wonders why he's been hiding the truth from her. She then recalls that whenever she asks about his past, he consistently avoids her question. Following this, Jisung repeatedly calls him, but he doesn't answer. The next day, he finally responds, and they agree to meet for lunch. Seeing him upset about being famous, she asks why it bothers him so much. However, he doesn't want to discuss it and walks away. Later, he meets with his coworker, who suggests that he should tell Jisung the truth about why he changed his name. That evening, he returns to her house and apologizes to her. He tries to tell her about his past, but she says she doesn't care because she loves him for who he is now. Shocked by this, he kisses her, and the two share a romantic night. The next morning, Jisung wakes up and realizes that he's left. Just then, she gets a call from a coworker who tells her to go online right away. She opens her phone and shockingly finds an article claiming that Jungkook is a murderer. It turns out that when he was a child, his house caught fire one day. His mom summoned the firefighters to come in and save Jungkook, who was still inside the house. Unfortunately, the firefighter died, and it was later discovered that Jungkook was not even in the home. After this incident, everyone blamed him and his mother for the firefighter's death. Some people even came to his house and tried to attack him. Tired of the constant bullying and abuse, they eventually moved out of the place and changed their names. Upon discovering this information, Jisung rushes to meet Jungkook, but he refuses to talk to her. She says he's the victim here, and he doesn't need to run away. However, he doesn't listen to her and urges her to leave him alone. The following day, several people on the internet come forward to defend Jungkook. Many families he has helped in the past share comments about his good deeds. Meanwhile, the firefighter who was thought to be dead comes online and says he's actually alive. He says Jungkook and his mother are not at fault, and he was just doing his job at the time. He also says he's proud of him for overcoming his trauma and becoming a firefighter. In the next scene, our couple meet the firefighter and thank him for clearing up the misunderstanding. For the first time in years, our hero feels relieved and at peace. However, as they return home, he receives a video message in which Jisung is seen asking the fridge about him and other people. Jisung begins to panic in fear. She claims that she was only trying to help people, but he doesn't trust her. She then brings him to the office and tries to demonstrate how the fridge works, but errors keep occurring. After this, she hastily checks and discovers that the program has been corrupted and vanished without a trace. This means that the chipset has been stolen. Meanwhile, Jungkook is upset to learn that his girlfriend has been prying into other people's private lives. She tries to explain, but he refuses to listen to her and leaves. Due to this, Jisung feels very sad as she was only trying to help others. She realizes that someone in her workplace has recorded her secretly, so she keeps an eye on all her coworkers to find out who's trying to defame her. Meanwhile, she receives a message warning her that if the authorities find out about her, she will be in serious trouble. Later, Jisung thinks that the culprit is Hwang and tries to snoop into her laptop. However, at that moment, a national intelligence agent appears and takes her away. Soon, the news of her arrest becomes viral, putting her in even more trouble. Later, the officer informs her that the GSS chipset was connected to her fridge, which is why it had information about everyone. It turns out the organization had sent Hwang to get the chip, but she disappeared along with the chipset. He then informs Jisung that anyone who uses the chipset for personal gain will be penalized and imprisoned for at least 2 years. But our girl is safer now as only Hwang knows about her activities. Following this, the officer lets her go and requests that she call him if she finds the chipset. Later, Jisung returns home and finds a worried Jungkook waiting for her. He immediately hugs her and apologizes. However, our girl realizes that she's being monitored by authorities and she doesn't want to put him in any danger, so she tells him she can't be with him anymore and decides to end their relationship. I'd love to know your thoughts. Drop a comment with your favorite moment from this show, and don't forget to subscribe for more discussions like this. Jungkook is heartbroken, however he respects her decision and lets her go. Later, when Jisung arrives at her flat, she notices that the lights are turned on and that her place is a mess. Suddenly, a man appears and it turns out to be her coworker, Yonghan. He claims that the company staff were concerned about her, so he came to check on her. However, when she gets suspicious, he immediately attacks her and ties her up. It turns out that he was the one who has been sending her threatening messages for the last few days. He was also the one who recorded her and sent the video to Jungkook. He turns out to be a pervert who specializes in stalking, searching for others' personal information, and posting it on social media networks. It turns out that it was not Jekyll, but Yonghan who had spread the rumors about her. Following this, he hurriedly searches through her bag to find the JSS chip. He wants to use it to stalk others and gain power to control everyone. At that moment, Jisung's friends arrive outside, but when she doesn't respond to the door, they eventually leave. After failing to find the chip, Yonghan pours gasoline in the apartment to burn it down. Fortunately, Hwang enters through the window and attacks him. She then states that the JSS chipset is safe in her possession. After beating him up, Hwang tries to untie Jisung, but Yonghan sets fire to the place and escapes. The fire quickly spreads, leaving the women with no way out. Just when it seems they're going to suffer an agonizing death, Jungkook arrives with a fire extinguisher and helps them outside. Following this, the culprit, Yonghan, is arrested and charged with stalking and recording many people over the past few years. Surprisingly, all the footage of Jisung interacting with the AI fridge has been wiped out, and she believes Hwang may have had a hand in it. After this incident, our couple gets back together. She resigns from her job and begins to look for work elsewhere. One day while she's hunting for work, she receives an email from Hwang. She says that when Jisung had the AI fridge, she had the power to do anything. However, she didn't misuse that power, and instead used it to help others. Because of this, she now wants to hire her for a mission. Thanks for watching this recap, and if you want me to cover another show, comment below and let me know. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe, by sweeties.